this thing called changing. I always think I want change till it begins to happen, and then 90% of the time I go, whoa, hold on. I didn't mean this, or I didn't mean now, or I didn't think that was how it was going to go. I didn't have time to plan for this, or I didn't know I'd have to give that up in order for this to happen. And another one of those aspects of change that I wrestle with is if I change, who and what am I going to end up being? Can you relate? I mean, most of us are like that, right? Right now, there are a lot of things going on in my life that require change, and I'm having to exercise a lot of risk-taking, emotion-managing behaviors. My coping mechanisms involve understanding that to survive the process of change, I must have a task, develop some skills, learn to let go, to be open to new learnings and new possibilities. Now, none of these skills come easy to me except the task list part. I'm a great list writer. And I'm pretty good when I have a task to accomplish. Well, until that awareness creeps in, that what I am doing is about to bring in a huge change, and then I'm back to my, whoa, wait a minute, why are we doing this? I need to take a break. For instance, Ron and I have sold the house in Leominster, where we have lived for over 30 years. And coming up next week, I'll be on vacation and we'll be cleaning it out for the closing on July 26th. Now, it really is a good change. We moved into the house after I came to the Leominster Church. We made new friends, we learned new places to live and shop and be. And not only was I the minister at First Church, but because of the location, the history of the church, and because I was the fire department chaplain, I became the city's community minister. Most city-wide events, many political events, most tragedies, most celebrations involved me in one way or another. And when I retired, and now that we are selling the house, this is going to change. And that is part of the change that's hard to give up, because it's part of the identity of who I was for many years. And when we change, oftentimes we need to give up an image of who we were or how things used to be. It doesn't mean that we won't be part of something new, like right now, and something energizing, but change means letting go and leaving space for something new to grow. Just like Kirsten demonstrated last week when she planted bush beans in place of the baby kale that were not growing as she had planned. Opening up to allow a new unknown to sprout is part of change, and it is both terrifying and exciting. And might you be wrestling with something like this too, individually, institutionally? And I ask, how can we learn to change with intention, not just by reaction? Because the reality is we can't stop, control, or perfectly orchestrate change. What we can do is ride the wave, and it is a wave, sometimes a tsunami. We can partner not just with that change, but with someone whom we trust to help us navigate those feelings that come about because of change. Now, COVID has brought about huge changes that's redundant and uninspiring and a very insipid thought, isn't it? COVID rocked our world and brought changes we could not even imagine. School from home, work from home, possibility of loved ones suffering, illness, and more. If we did not exercise every single precaution needed, wearing masks and gloves and protective clothing changed all manner of relating. No hugs, no group meetings, no eating out, no one-on-one meetings, no church worship, and politics that went from the sublime to the ridiculous as denial ignorance and absolute willful disregard for those suffering. And all these changes occurred and more. Families had to reassess what was safe, and they still are having to reassess what was safe. They have to put limits on everything. And that unimaginable loneliness, isolation, disruption, the unknowingness, the uncertainty that affected every aspect of our being. And we're beginning to come out of some of that COVID. And I don't know about you, and I also have heard from others, that coming out of that isolation and that limited socialization has been exhausting. Relearning social interactions, reimagining, and in my case, just imagining being in person at South Church is a change that creates some discomfort. It's not that I don't want to be out and about, and it's not, and I am gladly waiting to meet all of you and see your faces in the sanctuary. But it's new, it's a change, it's unfamiliar. So I need to be learning trust in myself and in you, trust that out of this chaos which COVID has thrust us into, something wonderful and newly engaging will emerge. And I need to remind myself that I don't really have total control over all the changes that will occur or have occurred. We will be coming back to in-service on September 12th, and it will be different. It will be a change. At this point, we will be holding 2 services, and it is still unknown about singing together, but we have a COVID task force that will be reviewing and making decisions, and no doubt they will be looking at lots of adaptations and more change. Adaptation, that's a healthy way to deal with change. It's kind of a big concept, and I offer this definition from Adrienne Marie Brown, who writes, adaptation is long-term or structural change in a creature or in a system to account for the need for survival. Adaptation is not being reactionary or being victimized or controlled and tossed around by the inevitable changes of life. It is about shaping change and letting change make us stronger as individual and collective bodies. Well, today marks another change, another adaptation in the system, in the life at South Church, as we recognize and celebrate Joanne Connolly's leave-taking as Director of Music Ministry. She's been in this position for 11 years and here much longer as a member of the congregation. She has seen and instituted changes during her tenure, and after she leaves, South Church will institute and bring in more changes. And that is the creative, tender, strong, interesting aspect of change. There is an opening and an opportunity that has come about with Joanne's leaving, and it is a time that's ripe for exploration, and it's also a time to be tender, to nurture and hold all that is precious, and it is also a time to maybe have new structure. And at the same time, we build upon the loveliness that Joanne has left, the persons she has encouraged to sing, the choir she conducts that fills this holy space with spine-tingling voices, musicians she has invited here to share their gifts. All this past influence wedded to the future, it can be the lovely thing about change. But change is a constant that will happen whether or not we are prepared or open to it. But it will build new possibilities as it builds upon past experiences and events. I have been with you for over a year now. Who would have thought? And together we have embarked on some slow but steady structural changes that will make South Church stronger, healthier, and a unique congregation. Ministry here has been an absolute treat, and it has been a change from my past ministry in some ways, and yet a continuation of what satisfies me in ministry which is encouraging spiritual health and well-being in individuals and building a sustainable, equitable, inclusive system that supports and is Unitarian Universalism at its best. For at its best, Unitarian Universalism is an ever-evolving, revelatory faith that encourages human growth and spiritual maturation, and it is a lifetime endeavor. And my goal is to have us live our UU message of being a beloved, inclusive, multicultural, anti-racist, anti-oppressive community, and living in a way that this message will be brought out into the world. Changes are coming. I'm not always ready. I sometimes go, whoa. But I do believe that if I can be open to the visions, sometimes not of my making, and if I can accept that I am resilient and strong, and that changes, such as moving out of the house in Leominster and being here with you and all that this brings, it won't be my last change. And I think I can get excited about all of this. Change is coming. Let's be in this together. May it be so.